Hello, welcome to Old Nerd Rants About Whatnot. I have kind of a love-hate relationship with Whatnot at this point. Recently discovered it, and I've shopped on there several times now in the last few weeks since trying it out, and the results have varied. One of the biggest issues that I have with Whatnot is if you're using your phone, you have a small screen, and it's kind of tough to determine the condition of the comic that the seller is putting on their camera for potential buyers to look at. Some sellers will pull like the comic out of its bag and board and do a close up like along the edges and do a little flip through so you can see the condition, but a lot of times they don't. And I think that's probably the key to whether you would want to buy something on Whatnot or not. If the seller pulls the comic from the bag and shows you like close up, tells you, like, gives you an estimate, their estimate of the comic's condition, pulls the actual comic out of the bag and board and does a close up of like the edges, the interior, the cover, the back cover. If they make you feel good about the condition of the book before you bid on it, I would say then that's probably a seller you want to follow or buy from. But sellers who don't do that, who just kind of leave it in the bag, maybe they'll show you kind of close, but it's still in the bag. The bag, as you can see right here, causes glare. So it's without taking the comic out of the bag and showing it close up and giving an honest assessment of how they feel the condition is, I would say don't buy from that seller on Whatnot. This video I'm going to go through, like I probably bought from 4 different buyers here in the last few weeks, and this is rant fuel for me because it varies from buyer to buyer what kind of condition I got. This I only got 3 comics from this buyer. Tor #1. This was I don't know when this came out. It came out in the 2000s, but it's Joe Kubert. It would have been one of his later works, kind of a return to Tor. This was a 6-issue series in 2008. But this was in really nice condition, issue #1. So I grabbed that. It's in my mind, it's cool to have issue #1 in good shape of lots of different popular series. Robert E. Howard Horror from Cross Plains Comics. I've never heard of this, although I think I do have another Robert E. Howard comic from them in my collections. Now that I'm thinking about it, I might have one more by these, but I'm a bit of a Conan fan, getting into reading Robert E. Howard's books, and recently read Kull. There's I did a video on King Kull a little while ago. If you search back through my channel, maybe I'll put a card up here you can follow to get to that video. So I grabbed this. This was in really nice shape. And Silver Age, Secret Files, and Origins. This is a nice Rachel and Terry Dodson cover from 2000. DC, I enjoyed DC around there in the late 90s, the early 2000s. They were doing, that's when Starman was going on by James Robinson. The JSA had been revamped famously by is it James Goyer and who's the creator of Stars and Stripe, the writer who worked for director, my gosh, I'm blanking so bad, the director who did the original 2 Superman movies with Christopher Reeves. The writer who worked for him was really big in comics. What the heck? I can't think of his name. Anyway, this era of DC, I have a soft spot for. I have several comics from that time frame. So, and I don't have this one, so I grabbed that, and they were all like probably $3 a piece or so. So that was one seller. I just got 3 from him. Now this seller, his stuff, his comics were pretty nice shape. This sticker right here, this comic came from BAM, Books and More. It's a big kind of box bookstore. They sell used stuff. They sell new stuff. We used to have one not far from here. And I went to it, and I got some comics from there. That's how I know that that's what this sticker is. But it's in pretty nice shape. Daredevil anniversary cover. Again, pretty nice shape. And these are all direct, as you can see from the corner box here. X-Men. This one's not quite as nice. You can see the pages are pretty brown, but still pretty nice condition, and it's the anniversary issue. Here is one of my favorite comics, favorite covers, favorite creative teams on this title, favorite title. This is one of the comics that got me into reading comics, collecting them, X-Men especially. John Romita Jr. And I think, is this Dan Green? Dan Green inking John Romita Jr.? It doesn't say on here. It's either Dan Green or Bob Wyacek. But one of my favorite comics, and in really nice condition. Here's a Marvel Tales with a Mike Zeck Punisher cover with Cloak and Dagger, Spider-Man, the Kingpin. I like to find the Marvel Tales from the 80s with either the Steve Ditko covers, the Todd McFarlane covers, or Mike Zeck, of course. Speaking of, here's one of the Steve Ditko covers. Not in great shape. It's got some spine ticks. Here's another one. This one's in real nice shape. But these are really cool. They're not worth anything, and I didn't pay a lot for them, but they're cool. Here's one of my all-time favorites, Arthur Adams, Uncanny X-Men Annual number 12, with the X-Babies and Mojo. And we finish off with some Conans. Some of these I think I was missing, so these will fill in my personal collection holes. And some of them, the price was right. So if the ones in my collection aren't in as good of condition as these are, I'll replace them. So it's got a pretty bad dent right there. But these are the Jeff Isherwood era. These are his covers. John Buscema had stepped away from the title, and Jeff Isherwood was drawing it for a good stint. And he was a pretty good replacement for John Buscema, I thought. But that is another seller, and I was happy with his stuff. Now let's switch gears and go to a seller that I wasn't so happy with. X-Force number 1, still in the bag. Good thing to have. Like I said, having a number 1 still in the bag, in good shape. And he had a bunch of Conans here. But here's the thing. He was one of those sellers that didn't take it out of the bag, didn't give like a grade. He just kept throwing stuff in front of the camera, and like a trained monkey, a trained seal, I just kept like bidding on stuff. And now I know that you don't just start bidding on stuff, because some of these things aren't in great shape. And this one has a lot of spine ticks. The pages are yellowing, and that's kind of the case with all of these. Here's an Andy Kubert cover, looking very much like his dad, Joe Kubert, especially Conan. Looks very much like his dad would have drawn Conan. But this would be some early Andy Kubert artwork. Again, not in great shape, not in terrible shape. But some of these Conans will fill in holes in my personal collection. Probably they won't replace any, because some of the conditions vary vary quite dynamically from really nice to not so nice at all. See, this one doesn't have a corner box, so does that make it a, like this one, like does it make it a newsstand without a corner box? Why would there be no corner box on one? I'm not sure. Here's a Jim Starlin and Jim Aparo Batman, but it's got a lot of spine ticks, which he did not show on Whatnot when he was selling this. Some more Conans. Is this Ernie Chan? Is this artist Ernie Chan? I'm not sure. Yeah, EC, Ernie Chan. He's similar to John Buscema, but not quite. Now we're back to John Buscema. This is John Buscema cover. These are newsstands, so it's forgivable that they're a little bit more beat up. Here's one with a massive spine roll. Some little bit of fracturing going on here at the staples. Not terrible. Here is the first Thor in his golden armor. Newsstand even. Not great, but not bad. Oh, let's put Conan in. Yeah, Conan there. There's another Thor, Walt Simonson Thor. A newsstand. This pretty rough up here on this corner. More Walt Simonson Thor. This one is rough. This one's going right in the old nerd store. He had a bunch of DC War comics. And I don't know why it is, but like all these spine issues seem glaringly obvious to me in person, but on camera, on Whatnot, you don't see them. But yeah, this one's kind of rough. Not terrible, but kind of rough. Another one. This one's super thick. This one has the Unknown Soldier in it as well. As you can see, one of these must be the Unknown Soldier in disguise, because that's 2 Sergeant Rocks. Here's another Thor. This is one of the great Walt Simonson Thor covers, I think. And a newsstand copy. Very nice shape. Unknown Soldier. I'm trying to put together a full run of Unknown Soldier. This started off as... What did it start off as? It had a different title, and the Unknown Soldier became the star of it, and then he became so popular. Like him and Enemy Ace were both in the comic. It was like you get 2 stories in one comic. Our Army at War, All-Star War. I forget what it was called, but that's where Unknown Soldier started. And I'm trying to put together an entire run from that until the transition to Unknown Soldier until it was canceled. And I have just about all of them, I think, at this point. Here he is, Enemy Ace. They brought him back. But this one's really rough, unfortunately. It's so hard to find the DC War comics from the 60s, 70s, early 80s in good shape. They got read and like tossed aside, and it's hard to find these in nice condition. Like this one's got a lot of ticks. See the film Superman 2. Here's another Thor. Pre-Walt Simonson Thor. Got the Eternals in here. I'm not sure who did this cover. Oh, wait. It says right here. Pollard and Layton. Bob Layton and... Is it Jim Pollard? I forget. Another Unknown Soldier. Real rough. With Enemy Ace again. And the Losers. Here it is, Star Spangled War. That's what the title was before it switched to just the Unknown Soldier. Another rough one. That's a classic cover, though. That's a Kubert cover, isn't it? Yeah, Joe Kubert. And a What If Conan Were Stranded in the 20th Century. And it is a newsstand, but it's got a lot of ticks up the spine. Corner's got some damage. That corner's rough. But what are you going to do? What are you going to do? Now, not only did this seller just rattle through comics as fast as he could and not show them and not tell you what condition they were in. Not only that, but he sent me, like, I got so many from him that he sent me 2 boxes in the mail. So, and this happens on eBay too. So it's not exclusive to Whatnot. Like, lots of people do this. But here we go. Free, thank you. Free books, thank you. They're junk. What do you do with these things? They're garbage. They're falling apart. They're torn. This one is actually not in bad shape, but it's got this sticker on it from wherever he bought it from. Like this one, garbage. This one, garbage. This one, garbage. 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 Like, I don't like throwing away comic books, but when they're in this kind of shape, what do you do with them? I could put them maybe down in the little free library downtown. I could put them, I guess, in my old nerd store for like $0.25, 50 cents, something like that. But they're all garbage. Look at this. Cover's detached. Free comics. Thanks for buying from us. Here's some free trash. So, okay, like I said, this seller, I bought so many from him that he sent me two shipments. He had to divide it up into 2 shipments. So here's the other stuff that I bought. Some more Conans. And these, oh wait, we already went through this pile. What am I doing? But yeah, he sent me two shipments, 2 boxes, and in each box he sent me this thick stack of 3 free books. Thank you. They're all garbage. They're all junk. Like, what do you do with this? Like, some of them would be cool if they weren't, falling apart, torn in half, folded in half. Like, I know I'm sounding like a crybaby. But it happens so much that it bugs me. Like, this one isn't terrible, but it isn't great either. Like, here, Weird War Tales, if that had been in any kind of decent condition. But now what do I do with it? It's like, I don't want to throw this stuff away. I'll send it to some other schmuck and they can figure out what to do with it. Like, I don't know. What do I do with it? Start a fire with it in the winter? When I'm burning the wood stove? I don't know. Last but not least, we'll end on a happy note. A happy note from Whatnot. Here is a big stack I got. Big stack. From this seller. Fantastic Four newsstand. This is 1979. Did they all have barcode in 1979? Can't remember if they had direct market back then or not. But anyway. This one's not great, but it's not bad. Here's a favorite of mine from childhood. I remember this fondly. A friend of mine owned this, and we passed this back and forth and read it and borrowed it and read it some more. Just him and I he'd have it for a while, then I'd borrow it for a while. Love that comic. Now this one was a nice surprise. This one I found when I opened it up, it's signed on page 1, but I cannot, for the life of me, figure out whose signature it is. Now, I'm going to open it, and I'm going to show you, and maybe you can tell me, because I've compared the other creators' signatures online to this signature, and I cannot figure it out. So the creative team on this book, see, I love it when you buy a book and it's signed. It's really cool. It's happened to me plenty of times. You go to a comic book show and you dig through the long boxes and you buy a bunch of stuff and you come home and you open it up and there's a signature on one of them. And that's really neat. Where are the credits in this one? Okay. So in this one, we've got Chris Claremont, Paul Smith, Bob Wycheck, Glynis Wein, Tom Morzikowski, Luis Jones, and Jim Shooter. Whose autograph is this? It looks like CLP CLST. Like, is that Chris Claremont? But if you look at his autograph online, that's not what it looks like. Is it Paul Smith? That's not what Paul Smith's autograph looks like online either. Bob Wycheck? No, it can't be. It wouldn't say that. Glynis? No. There's no G there, or W. Luis Jones? Could that be Luis Jones? Maybe? I don't know. Anyway, it's signed. I don't know whose autograph it is. Hopefully somebody watching this can comment down below who recognizes it. But it's cool anyway. It's signed. There's another pre-Simonson Thor. This is John Buscema. Trying to put together some of these John Buscema Thors that came out a little before Walt Simonson came on the book. I've never read them, never heard anything about them. I don't know that they're worth much money, but I'm interested. I want to check them out. Here is Life in the Mad Dog Ward. This was the follow-up to... This happened right after the J.M. DeMatteis and Mike Zeck big crossover between the 3 Spider-Man titles. What was that? Kraven's Final Hunt. So that was a 6-part crossover that crossed over between the 3 Spider-Man titles. And then Life in the Mad Dog Ward was right afterwards. And that crossed over. It was only 3 parts in it, one issue each of the Spider-Man titles. But this was Ann Nocenti, Cindy Martin, Kyle Baker. Really cool art in this series. I really enjoyed the art in this. I forget what the deal was, but Peter Parker ended up in a psych ward. I have to reread that one of these fine days when I get to it in the Old Nerd Reading His Marvel Comics in Order. Here's What If Daredevil Became an Agent of S.H.I.E.L.D. Newsstand edition. Not in terrible condition. Not in great condition. Here's one of the Jack Kirby Captain Americas. I'm going to have to do I think I'm going to have to read this real quick because I believe December of 76. So yes, I just passed this in the series on this channel where I'm reading my Marvel Comics in Order. I just passed this. I think this is December. I think I'm in February right now. So I'm going to sneak this one in. I'll read this one and I'll sneak this one in. I'll put it up here in the to-do pile. Here's an old Spectacular Spider-Man. This is a Frank Miller cover. Here is the photo cover of The Amazing Spider-Man. Pretty nice shape. Doom 2099 #1. I just love this series. I have maybe the first 10 or so issues, but I'm trying to get more of it. When 2099 came out, I only read Spider-Man 2099. Doom looked interesting to me, but I didn't read it at the time. And I recently, in the last couple of years, picked up a bunch of the first, like I said, first 10 or so, and I read a few of them, and they're good. I like them. So, like I said, having a nice copy of #1 of a cool series, not a bad thing to have a couple of them. And again, Namor #1, John Byrne's run. This great John Byrne artwork. I think it's almost looks like it's painted, doesn't it? I've always thought that about this cover. It looks the coloring wasn't, standard comic book coloring, but it almost looks painted. Maybe not. Here's a set of 4 early Silver Surfers. I think this is Steve Englehart and what is that artist's name? He's a fantastic artist. Let's look. Marshall Rogers. Yeah, Marshall Rogers. I think that's what's in here. Englehart and Rogers, I believe. Let's look. Yep. Steve Englehart, Marshall Rogers. Yeah, I remember when this Silver Surfer series started up again in the mid '80s. It was really hot. Like, people were really talking about this, and it was a pretty good series. It's kind of forgotten about now, but at the time it was a hot, hip, happening thing. This is a Walt Simonson cover on issue 10. Let's see if I can get this back in here without destroying anything. One of the comics that I pulled out of the bag and board, and it had this freaking stupid retard strength tape that caught the cover, and I got it off, but it pulled off some of the color with it. I was so mad. Here's a bunch of early what ifs. One of these, I think this is number 3, I was actually missing. So I think I'm only missing 1 issue, maybe 2, of What If Volume 1 now, to have the entire run. So I like these. I love these old What Ifs. I recently read the first one in my Old Nerd Reads His Marvel Comics in Order. It was the very first time I'd ever read What If number 1. Wasn't real impressed with it, but it was the first issue. It was establishing the tone and how the series was going to be, so it was understandable. Here's the Cougar. I think there's 2 issues of it in here. This one, I have a few of these Atlas comics. The Cougar I do not have, but now I do. Here we go. Some Uncanny X-Men, John Romita Jr. and Dan Green goodness. I got a few of these. Oh, these are Mark Jewelers. That's what the MJ is. These are Mark Jewelers. And I am starting to collect Mark Jewelers. I have a small, modest collection of them at this time. So, and these books are in fantastic condition, and they're all newsstand, of course. They're not direct. But so these next few are going to be Mark Jewelers, Uncanny X-Men. Great Alan Davis cover. This is not a Mark Jewelers, but I've always loved this cover. What's this guy's name? Magma? This is part of this Missing in Action storyline. It was kind of popular at the time. These things are worth a little bit more money, this Missing in Action storyline. I'm not sure why, though. Here's one of my favorite Daredevil covers. Art Adams. Really great Art Adams art. This guy actually is pretty professional. Prints out his receipt. It's extra expense I wouldn't do personally, but whatever. Here's some nice Conans. Oh, no, just one right here. Very nice condition. This is Mark Texeira, this cover. I wonder if he drew the interior. I hope so. Here's one of my very, very, very favorite, very dear to my heart comics. Uncanny X-Men Annual number 10. Where Longshot joins the team. We get the X-Babies for the first time. The New Mutants become the new X-Men. We're in the Mojoverse, so Mojo's in here. Such a good thing. Drawn by Art Adams. Oh. Unknown Soldier. Not in great shape, but not bad. Another one. Another one. This one's pretty rough. This one's got like, I can feel it's really rough right here. It must have gotten crinkled pretty good, gotten wet maybe. Another one. That one's in better shape. Another one. This one's not terrible. Got some pretty bad stuff going on down along here. Another one. This one is worse, but this is still when it was still Star Spangled War stories. Paul Smith, Doctor Strange. It's a newsstand, but it's not very nice shape, unfortunately. Another Conan, early one, 111. This is Al Milgrom did the inks on this, I bet. AM. It looks like Al Milgrom. He's always very, very, very heavy on the inks. Now this, not in great shape. It's a newsstand. But this, I don't know who that artist is. I don't recognize who this artist is, but he's awesome. Another early Conan. Ernie Chan cover. Kind of rough. Here's one with Red Sonja. Jeff Isherwood cover. This one's in nice shape. Doctor Strange with a Michael Golden cover. This one, pretty rough, unfortunately. Simonson Thor. Nice shape. Batman Adventures #1 and #2. I have a couple of the Batman Adventures. I'm trying to put together a little run of them. This guy, this Whatnot seller, had a pretty good deal on both of these. I don't remember what it was now. Is it on here? It's probably on this receipt. I can't remember what it was. But I'd like to put together a run of those Batman Adventures. And last but not least, a beat up Star Spangled War Stories featuring the Unknown Soldier. Not in great shape, but could very well be in better condition than the one in my personal collection. As I said earlier, these are hard to find in good condition. So that's my Whatnot rant. My takeaway: bid on stuff if you're on your computer or your tablet, something with a bigger screen than your phone so you can see the comics better, #1. #2, if the seller does not give his assessment of what condition the comic's in, and if he does not pull the comic out of the bag and board and show it up close around the edges, especially in the pages, buyer beware. Take it from old nerd who's learned his lesson the hard way here, that Whatnot is cool, but you've got to be careful. So anyway, thanks for watching. Like I mentioned a few times in this video, I do a series on this channel called Old Nerd Reads His Marvel Comics in Order, where I'm reading my Marvel Comics collection in publishing date order and doing a video on each comic. If that sounds cool, please subscribe. If you know other old nerds out there who like this kind of stuff, please share the video with them. Comment down below with anything that you know, and leave me a like. Thanks for watching. I'll see you next time.